Okay, thank you very much for joining me back here again. My name remains Jacob. So in this video I will be explaining lists in Python. Now, one of the beautiful things about Python is that it provides us with an awesome way of manipulating and managing data. Okay, and that is when data structure comes in. So data structure is all about how we manage data, how we store data, how we manipulate data. Okay, so we need that data to be structured in such a way that our code can be efficient, and then the management of the data can also be efficient. So in this video I will be explaining everything you need to know about lists in Python. Now, what is a list? So a list is used to store an ordered collection of items. Now, when we talk about ordered collection of items, we are referring to the item that is in a list remains that way, so unaltered, unchanged, unless you use the list method to change or manipulate them. So they are ordered, and then a list can contain different data types. So we can say, let's create a list now. So we can say we are having a list of fruits. So how do you create a list? So you have a variable. Okay, so a variable that holds the multiple value that your list is going to carry, and you do that by a square bracket. Now this square bracket can contain multiple data values and data types. Okay, so we can have a string. Okay, you can say let me say food. Okay, we can also add an integer value, so we can say 1 2 3, and then we can also have a boolean here, so we can say true here. Okay, then we can also have a float, say 4.9 or data value. Okay, so this is how a list is declared in Python. So a list, once again, is very important because they allow us to store and manipulate multiple values within a single variable. So in this case we are having fruits as our single variable, and then we are assigning all of these values in this list. And I said that the reason why we are having all of these values is because a list can take different data types. So this is a string data type, this is an integer data type, this is a boolean data type, and this is a float data type. So this is how a list is declared. Now, a list can also have a duplicate value. It doesn't, if you have a true here, we can also have false. Okay, so we can have false here, we can also have another false. Okay, we can also have another food. Okay, so a list can be duplicated. A value in a list can be duplicated. It doesn't care. So far you can put as many as you want. Okay, so having duplicated data is not an error in a list. Now, how do we know the length of our list? Okay, so let's say we want to get the length of our list. So let me comment this out and create a new list that contains integer. So I'll call that list a value. So I'll say value, and then I'll say equal to. So here I'll do 1 2 3. Okay, so let me say 3 4 5. Okay, so I have a list that contains 1 to 5. Now, for me to get the length of this value, what do I need? I need to use the len method. So for that I would use v as just a variable. Okay, or let me call it for clarity's sake. So I'll do length method underscore method, then I'll do equal to, then I'll now say len. Okay, then I'll now pass in our variable, which is value here, and then when I print len method, I should be able to see. Okay, all right, so when I run this, we are having 5. Why? Because we have 5 values here. Okay, so we can know how many values we have in a list by using the len method. Okay, now how about if we want to know the data type we are dealing with? Okay, So if we want to know the data type we are dealing with, we have to use the type method. So here we can say print. Okay, we can use the print method to say, okay, print, and then we pass in type. Okay, we can pass in type, and then pass inside the type, we now pass in our variable. So in this place, len method. So when we print, when we run our code now, so it's telling us it is a class integer. Why? Because the value we are having in our list is what? Is a class, is an integer value. Okay, now we are seeing integer, meaning we are not getting what we need. So I will use value because value is what is carrying the list. So when I do it here and I said value, okay, so it should be able to tell me that, okay, so it's now telling me that it is a class int. Okay, so the reason why he was telling me that the list here is type integer is because I'm assigning the value from the list to this len method. Okay, so and you can see that the return from the len method is 5, which is an integer. So it's already seeing it as an integer, but because we want to see the class or the type of what our list value is, we need to pass in the value variable for us to see the list. Okay, so as you can see, you can see it here is you are seeing variable value, and then the list is type int. All right, so that is that about when we want to get the type of data we are dealing with. All right, now how about when we want to check for we want to convert a tuple to a list? How do we do it? So a tuple can be converted to a list. A tuple is another data structure. I will discuss it in subsequent videos. Okay, all right, so a tuple is also another data structure that you can use to store data. Okay, but we can convert a tuple to a list. So how do we do that? So we can I can have a tuple here, underscore value or item, let me call it item, then I say equal to. So this is how you declare a tuple. So inside there I'm passing let me pass in string values, or let me just say, okay, 1 3 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. All right, so let's just have 9 values here. Okay, so inside these 9 values are all tuple. Okay, and because they are tuple, I will need to convert them to a list. So how do I do that? I can only do that by using the list constructor. So the list constructor is a built-in function that allows us to create a new list by converting a tuple, a string, or a range of numbers to a list. So how do we do that? So we can say, let me say this list. Okay, let me have a variable that says this list equal to. So by creating this new list, I will now be able to call the list constructor. So this is how to create the list constructor. So this is a list constructor. So the list constructor takes an argument, and the argument is going to take is a variable that is holding what you want to convert. So in this case, it is our tuple item. So I will say tuple item. So when I print this list, so when I print, let's say print this list, okay, when I print this list, so you can see that it's already converting it to a list here. But let me print the print tuple so that you see what comes out. So if I say tuple item, okay, so if I run it, okay, so you can see it's returning a tuple and a list here. So this is how to convert a tuple to a list. Now we can also convert a string to a list. How do we do that? So we can have something like this. We can have, let's say, what do I call it? Okay, let me just call food. So I'll say food variable equal to rice. We eat rice a lot, so let's convert our rice to a list data type. Okay, so how do we do that? So we can now say this food equal to, so I now call the list constructor, and then I'll now pass in our food variable, and then when I print this food, we can now see that we have successfully converted this food. Okay, so when I run the code, you can see that we have successfully passing our food. So you can see that it's already in a character list, so each of them has been converted to a list. So this is how to convert a tuple to a list, a string to a list. Now, having said that, let's move further to look at how we can access item in a list. So how do we access item in a list? So let me bring our list here. So let me bring our list down here. Okay, now one of the core things you must know when it comes to accessing a value in a list is the index. What do you mean by index? Index is that is a way of us finding the value we are looking for without necessarily look at the entire list. Okay, so instead of searching through the entire list, we can just find out the index, okay, and then use the index to locate the value. So think of it like when you want to open your book to a particular page. Okay, so there's a table of contents, there is an index number that tell you the page number where that chapter starts from. Okay, so that is how index also works. All right, so let's look at it. So for us to, imagine we want to see the index of 3, for example, you can see that we have 1 to 5 here, but if programmatically it is starting from 0. So this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4. Okay, so all of these have their index, so it starts from 0 to 4, even though we are having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so the index number is what we use to locate the value. So if I do a variable now and say v equals to value, okay, and then I now passing the index number I'm looking for. So in this case, let's say we are looking for index 1 value or index 2. So when we print our v, okay, when we print v, okay, all right, so we are having 3, okay, because this is index 1, this is index 2, and this is index 3. So it's giving us what? This is index 1, I mean 0, this is index 0, this is index 1, this is index 2. So after index 2 we are having 3, so it's going to give us 3. Okay, so at index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so every index start from 0. It is the beginning of the list, okay, up to when that list ends. Okay, so this is how we can access, one of the way we can access a list. Now imagine we want to get the list from the end of the list. How do we do it? Okay, so if we want to get a value from the end of a list, we can use the negative. So when we say -1, for example, is going to return 5 for us. Okay, so what we are doing is, instead of looking at the index from 0 to 4, it is now like reading it from the left to the right. Okay, so whenever we are using the negative, we are changing the order it should operate. Okay, all right, so this is how to access the list using negative. So if I made here 2, it's going to print 4, which is the second one. Okay, the second value here. Okay, so if I also make it 3, okay, it's going to print 2 for us, I mean 3 for us. Okay, so whenever you are using the negative, you must be sure of what you are looking for and exactly the data you are looking for. All right, now we can also use the range of indexes to find out to get values, okay, to access values. So when we say, okay, let me leave this here and comment it out, but I still need to use this, so I'll create another variable. I'll do s, so I'll now say equal to. Now here we can also use the range of indexes. Okay, by this we are specifying the index to start from and where the index will end. So how can we do that? We can do that by using value, okay, and then here we now specify where to start from and where to end. So how do we do that? We can do 2 and then we can do 5. Okay, so we are saying that start from index 2, end at index 5. Okay, no, our index is not up to 5, so let's reduce it to 4. Okay, all right, so we are having 3. Okay, so because we are saying that so it will start from here, okay, and then end at this place. Okay, so but it's giving us 3 here. Okay, so what we are doing here we are specifying the starting point and the ending point. Okay, oh damn, so when we print s, okay, it's going to give us 3 and 4. Okay, because we are starting from 3, 4 and then ending at 5. So we have our index 0, index 1, and then index 2, index 3, index 4. Okay, so it's going to print anything between the index 2 and where we want it to end. It's not going to include where it's going to end. Okay, all right, now we can use the range of indexes to specify the starting point and the ending point. We can also say that we want to start at index 0 and end at index 3. Okay, so when we print, we are going to get 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it's going to give us index 0, index 1, index 2. Okay, and will not include index 3. Okay, and will not include index 3 here. So this is how we can use range of indexes to specify. Okay, then we can also specify the end of of a list. Okay, so in this situation we can say value, okay, and then specify the end. So when we want to get element at the end of a list, we can just specify. So in this case, let's say we want to get the element at index 4. Okay, and when we print d, okay, when we print d, we should be able to have 5 because 5 is the last element here. Okay, we can also specify, let's say we need element at index 2. Okay, and when we run it, okay, we are getting the element. So but when we add this, okay, when we add this, that means that is when we are specifying where it should end. Okay, so here we are getting 1 and 2. Why? Because we specified that start from index 0, index 1 and index 2. So it's going to print index 0 and 1 for us. Okay, but it will not include index 2. Please pay attention very carefully. So at index 2 at index 2 is not going to include the index you specify here. Okay, so if I say you should print index 3, for example, okay, I am saying that start from the beginning and end at index 3. That is what I am doing here. Okay, so what I'm saying is start from index 0 and end at index 3. Okay, so when I run this, it's going to print 1, 2, 3 for us because we have index 0, index 1, index 2. Okay, but will not include index 3. All right, so this is how we can also specify the end of our list. Where should it end? Okay, now we can go further to also specify where it should start from. Okay, so the same way you can specify where it will stop, you can also specify where it can start from. So instead of having 3 here, we can say that okay, just start from 3 and print everything after index 3. So when we do something like this and we run our code, it's going to print 4 and 5 for us. Okay, why? Because we have index 0 here, index 1 here, index 2 here, and then index 3. So it's going to print everything out, including index 3 to the end. Okay, so this is how we can also specify the starting point in a list. And here we are stating the end. Okay, the starting and the ending. Okay, all right, so and here we are stating the starting point. All right, so this is how list work in Python. Okay, we can also add negative here. So if I add negative 3, we are going to be having 3 4 5. Okay, why? Because it's going to count from here down here. Okay, it's going to count from index 2, 3 and 4. Okay, so it's looking at like it from the backward instead of forward. Okay, or from the beginning. So this is how we can specify the end of the list, the starting of the list, and the middle of the list. Okay, so we call this list slicing. All right, now how do we check if an item exists in the list? So having looked at this, let me move my list downward again. Okay, so I can okay, yeah, let me comment this out. Okay, so we can also check if an item exists in a list by using our if condition. Okay, in case you need more understanding about if condition, you can check my previous video down below. Okay, so we can say that we can look through. Okay, so we already have our list, so we can say if. Okay, in this case, what are we checking? Let's check that the 2 exists in our list. So if 2 in value, okay, we are saying print yes. It should print yes. Okay, to print yes. Okay, and then if else, okay, else, it should print no. Okay, it should print no. So we are printing no. So when we run our code, so it's going to tell us yes. Why? Because we have 2 in our list. But what if we specify a value that does not exist? So say 5. Okay, okay, yes, 5 in the list. What about 9? Okay, it's going to tell us no. Okay, it's giving us no here. Okay, why? Because we don't have 9 in the list here. Okay, so we can look through a list to check if a value exists, and if a value exists, we can manipulate that value or that data depending on our requirement and what we are looking for. Now, how do we assign a value to a list? So the simple way to assign a value to a list is by using the assignment operator. Okay, you can also find this in my previous video, assignment operators, in my operators video. Okay, so we can change item value by doing something like this. So let's say we want to add to this list, so we can do something like let me create another variable. I'll call it this list. Okay, let's call it this list and say equal to, okay, oh no, so whenever we are assigning a value to a list, we need to call that that variable and indicate the index we want to add value. So in this case, we can say value, okay, and then specify. So let's say we want to add want to change 1 to 10. So we can do something like this. So at index 0, we want to change it to 10. So we can do something like this. And when we print value, okay, when we print value, oh, no values, value, okay, when we print value, we are having a 10 at index 0. So we have been able to indicate the index we want to change and then add the value we want to replace with. So this is how to change a value, okay, in a list. Okay, so we will indicate the index we want to change and then the value, we assign that value to the variable, okay, and using their index. Okay, we can also do the same if we want to change 5 to another thing else. So we can say something like this. Instead of 5, we can say 15. Oh, sorry, the index there is 4. So at index 4, we want it to be 15. So we can do something like this. Okay, and when we print value, we are having 15 being replaced. Okay, so this is how to change item value, and it's also another way of what changing the value we have as a particular index. Okay, now we can also change the value by specifying the index range. Okay, so something like this. By specifying the range, we can also add a different value we want. So we can do something like this value, and then we specify the range. So at index 1 and 3, we want to add the following. So we can create a list where we add, let's say 20, comma, what else? Let's say 30. Okay, so when we print our value, so you can see that we have been able to change at index 1 and index 2. We have been able to change it to 20 and 30. Why? Because we were able to specify the range of indexes. Okay, so this is how to change value using their range of index. Okay, we are also using their index here to change the value. Okay, so these are different ways we can manipulate data and manage data in Python. Now let's proceed. So in a situation where we add more than we specify here, you can see the range here is index 1 and then ending at index 3. Okay, but what if we add a value that is above the specified range of index we add? It will extend. So let's say we add 40, comma, P60 and say 80. Okay, now you can see that it is above whatever we specify here and even our list, but it's still going to add it. Okay, so you can see that it's now replacing them. So he pushed the rest forward and then replaces itself here. Okay, so this makes a list very flexible to manipulate. Okay, so you can see that we can add many values by specifying the range, and when we do not specify enough range, all the values will still go inside our list. So this is how list works. Okay, this is how we can change the value of item within a specific range. Okay, so the list moves to the end and then replaces the data that is coming in. Now how about when we want to insert a value to our list? Okay, if we want to insert a value to our list, for example, we will need to use the insert method. Okay, so the insert method allows us to insert a new list without replacing any of the existing values. Okay, so we can do something like this. So I can do value dot insert. Okay, dot insert. So the insert takes parameters. Okay, and in this case we are going to specify the index we want to put. So remember what we said when we talk about, let me go back again. So when we talk about using index, so here we are using their index to add values. Okay, but we can also use insert method to also add our value, and by using insert method we are not replacing any of the existing value. We are not replacing them, we are adding them to the list. But instead of us changing the value, we are adding, and then so we are specifying the index we are trying to add. So here I will say 100. So 100 is the value we want to add. So when we now print our value, okay, when we print value and we run again, so you can see that at index 2 is now 100. Okay, so this is how it happened. Okay, now take note that 3 was not replaced. Okay, so this is 1, this is 2, 3 was not replaced. Okay, 2 was not replaced, but there was a position that was created for 3 to be pushed to the end of the list, and then a space was created for the new value that is coming in. So when you use an insert method, you are creating a new space and indicating the index, the position you want that incoming value to be by using the insert method. So this is how the insert method works in Python. Then we can also use the append method. By using the append method, we can add an item to our list. Okay, so we can use value dot append. Okay, so append. So the append method allows us to add to the end of the list. So this time around, in a situation where you don't want to specify a index where you want to bring a new value into the list, you can use the append method. So whatever you provided in the append method, okay, whatever argument you provided will be added to the end of the list. So here I will say 120. So when I now print value, okay, when I print value and I run it, okay, so you can see that we are having 120 at the end here. Okay, so the append method add the incoming value to the end of the list, not from the beginning, not at a specific index, but at the end. So but the insert method, you specify the index you want to add, and it will create a space for that index and move a value that is existing in that index forward. All right, so this is how the append method works. Then we can also use the extend method. Now the extend method allows us to create a list. Okay, so if we want to extend the list, for example, we can do something like this. Okay, I already have a list here. Let me create another one. So I'll call it fruits. Let me call it fruits. And then assign a list of fruits. So I'll say mango, oranges, what else? Carrot. Okay, I don't know if it's a fruit, don't ask me. Okay, so carrot, whatever, let's stop here. So we can extend the list. Okay, and by extending, we are saying to add element from another list to the current list. Okay, so we can add our value list to our fruit list, or our fruit list to our value list. So let's do that. So by using the extend, we can do something like this. So we can do value dot extend. Then we now pass in the variable of the list we want to extend. Okay, we are adding a new list, okay, to that existing list. Okay, all right, so let's not talk too much. This is fruits. Okay, so when we now print a value, so you can now see that in our list we have our integer 1, 200, 3, 4, 5, 20, 120, and then inside that same list we are now having mango, oranges, carrot. So what we have been able to do with the extend method is to add an existing list to a current list. Okay, so this is how you can add two lists together. All right, okay, so this is it. Now let's move further by how do we remove an element or an item from a list. Okay, for us to remove, we use the remove method. Okay, so for our fruit, for example, we can do something like this. I do fruits. Okay, so if I do fruits and I do dot remove and I print fruits, okay, what do we get? Name fruits is not defined. Line 39. Oh, then. Okay. All right, let's go. Okay, so you can see that we have been able to remove mango from this list. Okay, so when using the remove method, you will need to define or specify the item you want to remove. Okay, so this is how to use the dot remove method. You need to specify the value, the item you want to remove. So in this case, we want to remove mango. Okay, now the next one is the pop method. Okay, the pop method allows us to remove values. Okay, So we can say fruits and then dot pop. Okay, and then the pop takes parameter. Okay, if you provide a parameter, good. If you do not provide parameter, it removes the last the last item or value in the list. Okay, so if we run our fruits, okay, you can see that oranges is what will be left here, because we are removing oranges here, mango here. So let me comment that out and run the code again. So you can see that it has removed carrot. We are left with mango and oranges. Okay, but you can also provide the index when you are using a pop. So let's say we're at index index 2. Okay, we want to remove item at index 2, for example. So we run it, so the carrot is gone again. We can also specify index 0. Okay, and then the mango is no longer there. So this is how the pop works again. So the pop method takes parameters. So if you do not provide a parameter, it takes the last element in the list. But if you pass in an index value of the position, the index of the value you want to remove, you use the pop and it will remove it out. Okay, now let's move further to look at the delete keyword. Okay, now when we want to delete a particular value, we can specify the index. So by using the keyword del, okay, by using the keyword del, which is for delete, we can delete a list from a particular index. So we can say fruits here in our fruits, and then we specify the index. So this time around, let's say we are at index 1. We want to delete the item at index 1. Okay, so when we print fruits, okay, so yeah, so oranges is no longer there again. We are left with mango and carrot. So this is, and then we can also use the delete keyword to also delete an entire list. So when we use this like this, we delete fruits. Yeah, so this is the list. So when we delete this, so run again, line 44. Oh yes, it doesn't exist again. So that is why we are getting the error. Okay, so once you use the delete keyword, the entire list has been deleted, so nothing to print. Okay, so that is why it's telling us that fruits is not defined. Okay, all right, so this is how it works. But if we assign a variable to it, for example, and we say f equal to, and then we decide to print the f. Okay, let's say we print the f. Okay, so I can't use the del with a variable, so let it be this way. All right, so this is how the delete keyword works with a list. So you can use the delete keyword to delete an entire list, or you can use it and specify the index of the value you want to delete. Okay, and then you'll be able to do that. Then we can also use the .clear method to empty the entire list. Okay, so in this situation we can say fruits. Let's provide a variable f, then we say fruits, and then inside this fruit we'll now call the .clear method on it. Okay, so the .clear, so what this .clear do is it clear every single value in the list and leave the list empty. Okay, so we can do something like this. So when we run it, we are having none because there's nothing inside the list. Okay, all right, so this is how the list works. Okay, sorry, wait, I think I want to check something, so I can print. Let me print here and then call the .clear. Okay, .clear, yeah, then close it and then leave it empty. So when we run this, okay, there's none. All right, so let's say we are printing fruits, for example. Okay, so when we run the code, yeah, so this is what I'm looking for. So it's going to give us an empty list at the end of the day, okay, because the entire item inside our fruit list has been cleared off using the .clear method. Okay, now we can also look through a list. Okay, so how do we look through a list? We can look through a list by using our for loop and while loop. So let's say we are looking through our fruits list. So we can do for x in fruits, okay, and then we are printing we can print our x, okay. All right, so by this we should be having all the value of our list. So this is how we can look through a list in Python. The for is a keyword that tells Python that we want to perform a loop. The x is a variable that we use, okay, of type string, and then we are using our iterable, which in this case is our list variable, and then we are printing the value, okay, anytime this loop runs. All right, so it's good to print all the items in the list. Now how about if we want to look through the index numbers? So we can do that by doing something like this. Let me comment this out. So by this we can do something like this. Let's say for I, or for, is it for I now? They say we should not use for I, so let me just say for A, yeah, in fruits. Okay, so here we can now provide a range. Okay, so now we are going to use the range and the length. So the range will get the index and the length function will get the length of our fruit variable. So how do we do that? We now call the range function, okay, then provide the length inside, and inside the length we are now providing, we can now provide our fruits. Okay, so we say fruits. Okay, so what we are doing is we are trying to look through our fruits, okay, and for us to get the index of each of the fruit, we need to use the index, the range function, and then we are using the length to print individual items. Okay, so when we do something like this, and then we can now print, okay, we can print print this, sorry, can print what's that, value, okay, value, what is this now? Okay, we can now print value and then add our variable, which is A in this case. Okay, so when we run our code, so it's going to give us, oh, not this, is fruit. Okay, so when we run this, okay, so you can see that it's giving us mango, oranges and carrot. But if we want to know the index, for example, we can just print A, okay, which is what the range function is doing. So we can do something like this, okay, and you can see that 0, 1, 2, because there are 3 items in the list. So this is how we can look through a list, okay, look through the index number of a list. Okay, so we use the range function and then provide the look at the length, and then we provided the iterable so that we can get the items and the index. And that is why we are adding the items and the index together here in order to get each individual item. All right, so this is it. So we can also use a while loop. Okay, we can also use a while loop to look through. So something like this, you can say okay, we need to have an indexing value, so I will assign 0 and I will say while I is less than how many is our value? 3. So I'll say 0 1, so I'll say 3. Okay, or let me use the length. So let's use the length function or method now. Okay, so we're now providing our fruit list. Okay, then we can now print the list. Okay, print. Okay, then fruits. Okay, fruits, print fruits. Okay, then we append our indexes. Okay, then remember, always add your increment. If not, you will run into infinite loop. So plus equal to 1. All right, so when we run it, okay, you can see that we are getting oranges, mango, oranges, carrot. Okay, so if we change this to 1, for example, okay, we change this to 1, we are getting oranges and carrots. If we change this to 2, we'll be getting carrot alone. So this is how a while loop works in Python. Okay, so we are using the length function. Okay, this length function here. Okay, to determine the length of the list, and then we start at index 0. Okay, we started at index 0, and then we are looping through the entire list. Okay, and referring to their indexes. So this is how a while loop works in Python. Now finally, let's look at sort. Okay, so we can also use the sort method to sort our list. Okay, so if I use the dot sort, for example, so I can call our list now and say what's the name of our list? So I'll call fruits. Okay, and then I call dot sort. Okay, now if I call the dot sort, and then I will now provide, then I will now print fruits. Okay, okay, so fruits. All right, so when I run this, I'm getting mango, oranges, and carrot. Okay, is that the arrangement here in the list? Mango, oranges, and carrot. Let me mix it up and see. So let this come to the end, and let this go to the beginning. No, it's okay like this. All right, okay. All right, so let's print our list and let's see. Okay, so you can see how he's arranging them alphabetically. Okay, so let's see our list here. So you can see our list is oranges, carrot, and mango, but here we are having mango, oranges, and carrot. Why? Because M comes first in the letter alphabet before O, and then we're having C. Okay, now you are seeing the C as the last because C is small letter. So if I change C to capital letter, for example, okay, you can see now. Okay, so in the ASCII table, the capital letter and the small letter differs. So that is why you are seeing that. All right, but now that I've changed the carrot to C, into capital C, you can see that the C is the first letter, followed by M, and followed by O. So this is how the sort method works. So it arranges the list according to their letter alphabet. Now we can also use a sort that it use descending order. Okay, so this is ascending order. If we want our list to be in a descending order, we can do something like this. So we can do fruits, and then call the sort Okay, we'll call the sort, and then inside the sort method we now provide a reverse. Okay, so we reverse equal to true. Okay, true. Okay, so what we are trying to do here is we are trying to reverse our fruit in a descending order. So if we run the code now, it will print fruits. Okay, if we print fruits. Yeah, this is what I want. Just get up. So you can see that we are now having oranges, mango, and carrots. So the first letter becomes the last letter, and the letter that follows becomes the next letter. So and all of that. So it is in a reverse order, in a descending order. Okay. We can also do in another way by using the reverse method also. So we can use the reverse method. So we can do fruits, and then call the reverse, okay, method. Now when we print them, so let me print the two so that I can explain the difference between the two. So I'll do print fruits here. Okay, so print fruits. Alright, so when I run, okay, so you can see the difference is clear here. So here is printing in a descending order, and here is an ascending order. So this is the difference between the sort when you provide the reverse equal to true, or you can also use the reverse method. So all of what I've discussed is how to manipulate data in list. Okay, thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching. You can subscribe, like, and share, and also turn on the notification bell. Thank you very much, and see you soon. Bye.